What is good about this morning? Tell me, is there anything good about you? Mrs. Mbechi asked, but Osita didn't answer. Who are you looking for? Why are you here? She asked again. Mama, I am looking for Nkoli. Don't ever call me Mama again because I can't give birth to someone so unlucky. I can't give birth to someone who is a good for nothing. I have warned you and won't warn you again. Leave my daughter alone. Your poverty stinks and it follows you around. Please, allow my daughter to get married to someone who will help her life. A poor man doesn't follow woman. Go and look for money. Osita, go and look for money and stop looking for my daughter. The Onowu didn't believe what he just heard from the king. The whole villagers who were present began to murmur within themselves. Amaka looked at Nkoli, her best friend, then her mother who warned her not to let Nkoli dance. Osita looked at the love of his life, who he had also encouraged to go ahead and join the competition. For a few seconds, they were all confused. All eyes were placed on Nkoli, who looked frozen and shocked. Then the king who just spoke was still standing. Then the prince who was smiling like his heart's desires had been granted. Come forward and receive the medal from me, your king, the king said to Nkoli, who was still trying to dilute what she just heard. No, I can't. Nkoli said. She looked at Osita, then Amaka, whose countenance spelled disappointment and sadness. She quickly ran out of the scene while Osita and her mother ran after her. The prince wanted to order the guards to go after Nkoli, but the king stopped him. The Onowu looked at the king, but the king couldn't look back at him. The villagers disappeared from the scene one after the other. Amaka's feet were planted where she stood. She was heartbroken and torn apart. Her mother walked towards her. She sat down on the ground and tears streamed down her cheek. Mama, what did I do to deserve this? Haven't I been a good girl? Haven't I been a good friend? Am I not beautiful enough? Mama, do I have bad luck? After so many years of preparing, I am heartbroken in the presence of the whole villagers. Mama, why? Where did I get it all wrong? Amaka kept asking her mother as she sobbed like a child, with her mother consoling her. Her mother wanted to blame her daughter so much, but that was not the right time. She helped her daughter to stand up. She looked at her husband, who looked lost in everything that just happened. Then she walked out with her daughter, who wouldn't stop crying bitterly. The Onowu sat in total confusion. He felt like all this was just a dream. Has he forgotten already? Has he forgotten so soon? Onowu asked himself. What do you mean? One of the elders asked the Onowu. The Onowu stood up. When a man decides to start a fire just to look for a rat, he never knows he's burning his own belongings. Nnamdi, Makachi, we shall see, the Onowu said in anger as he walked out of the scene. The elders who had stayed back to console him didn't understand why the Onowu called the king by his name. Meanwhile, Nkoli didn't stop running till she got home. She sat on the pavement in front of her house with tears rolling down her cheek. Osita arrived first. He walked towards Nkoli slowly. Please come and get married to me. Please do it quickly. Don't let the prince take me as his wife. I can't get married to the prince. You are the one I love. Please, Osita, please, Nkoli said, with tears streaming down her cheek continuously. Before Osita could say anything, Nkoli's mother walked into the compound in a haste. What are you doing here? Leave my daughter alone, oh. The gods has finally decided to shine their light on us. My daughter is going to be the next queen of this land. Leave now before I call the palace guards on you, Mrs. Mbechi said to Osita. Mama, he's not going anywhere. I love Osita and I will get married to him alone, Nkoli said, drawing closer to Osita and holding him. Mrs. Mbechi looked around the house in search of a weapon. She went inside and before she came out, Osita had already left the house. No, he should have waited for me to come out. He should have stayed. You don't have money and you want to marry my daughter, the best dancer in the whole kingdom of Amoke, Mrs. Mbechi said, panting like she was ready to divorce someone. Mrs. Mbechi then calmed down and walked towards her daughter. She reminded her why she should go for the throne. She told her from the look of things, the prince doesn't love Amaka. Even if she doesn't want to be his wife, the prince wouldn't still get married to Amaka. She told Nkoli that it was destiny calling onto her to be great. She also reminded Nkoli how her father will be needing money soon because from the look of things, the Umowu won't give them money any longer. When Mrs. Mbechi was done convincing her daughter to get married to the prince, she left her and went into the house. Although when she was speaking to Nkoli, Nkoli never said anything. She just kept mute as the tears kept streaming down her cheek. After Mrs. Mbechi left, Nkoli remembered the look on Amaka's face after the king declared her the winner and the one to get married to the prince. She was so heartbroken and felt for her best friend who had always been there for her. On so many occasions, her best friend had always come true for her. Their friendship started so many years ago. When they were still little, they promised each other that nothing was going to separate them. How could she be the one to hurt her best friend? How could she be the one to break her heart by taking what was supposed to be hers? The pains Nkoli felt knew no bound. The tears kept streaming down her cheek. Some palace guards walked into Nkoli's compound. Mrs. Mbechi came out to see them. They asked Mrs. Mbechi to come to the palace with Nkoli, who belittled the king in front of everyone by running away and turning down his prestigious reward. Mrs. Mbechi told the palace guard that they would be coming shortly. When the guards left, Mrs. Mbechi went in to take her head tie. She planned on convincing Nkoli to follow her to the palace, but when she came out, Nkoli was nowhere inside the compound. Nkoli! Nkoli! Mrs. Mbechi called out, looking around, but no one answered. Where has this girl disappeared to? Does she want to put me in trouble? She had let the king down by turning down his offer. Now she won't answer his calls, Mrs. Mbechi said, looking around to see if Nkoli was maybe hiding somewhere. But Nkoli was nowhere inside the compound. Mrs. Mbechi tied her head tie and started walking in pace towards the palace. When she got to the palace, the king was seated with the prince waiting for Nkoli and her mother. But it was only Mrs. Mbechi who walked into the palace. She greeted the king and the prince. Where is Nkoli? Where is my wife to be? The prince asked Mrs. Mbechi. My prince, I don't know. I went inside to get my head tie. By the time I came out, my daughter has disappeared from my compound, Mrs. Mbechi said with almost teary voice. Where do you think she must have gone to? The king asked calmly. I think she has run off to see the palm wine tapper. He's the one deceiving my daughter. I want to come and answer your call first, Your Highness, before going there to get her. I don't want to disobey the throne, Mrs. Mbechi answered. My wife to be with an ordinary palm wine tapper. Who is he? The prince roared in anger. Tell me the name of this palm wine tapper and let my guards bring him here this minute, the king said. His name is Ude Osita. He's the son of late Mazi Ude, the palm wine tapper that died few years ago. He lives with his sick mother close to the village market square, Mrs. Mbechi answered. Guards, go to Osita's house and drag him here. Make sure not to harm the queen-to-be, the king ordered his two guards. When the guards left, Mrs. Mbechi sat down admiring the riches in the palace. She couldn't wait for her daughter to be the queen. All her long life suffering will be over. Meanwhile, back at Osita's house, Nkoli was having a conversation with him. Please, I don't know how to face Amaka. She warned me. She warned me not to dance. Now the prince has sent his guards to come after me at home. How do I escape from all this? You are the one I love. I cannot break Amaka's heart. What have I gotten myself into? Nkoli asked Osita with tears streaming down her cheek. I love you so much, and I promise to stand by you. I thought you would have accepted the king's reward. My heart sank into my stomach when the king spoke. Thank you, my love. Thank you for not breaking my heart. I pray the gods of our land remember us and help us fight for our love, Osita said, looking into Nkoli's eyes. What about your old friend you told me about? Can't he take us to the city? Can't we just run away from this village and never come back? Nkoli asked Osita. Before Osita could answer, some palace guards walked into his compound. There were two of them. You are wanted in the palace immediately with the queen-to-be, one of the guards said. Nkoli hid behind Osita. Osita whispered something into her ears and she ran off. One of the guards tried to go after Nkoli and Osita held him back. They had no choice than to beat Osita up. When they went after Nkoli, she had already disappeared into the bushes. They dragged Osita to the palace. The palace guards told the prince what had happened and how Osita had made Nkoli to run away. The prince was so angry at Osita, he asked the guards to take him outside and flog him till he tell them what he whispered to Nkoli before she ran off. Osita was wiped 100 strokes of cane, but he didn't say anything. The cane hurt, but he endured it. The prince knew that was not going to get Osita to talk. He asked that Osita's clothes should be removed. He asked the guards to dip the cane into a salt bucket after each stroke. The first salty whip was so painful. By the time they got to the sixth stroke with the heavy cane, Osita's back was dripping with blood and he was in deep pain. Mrs. Mbechi felt for Osita. She never wanted him to go through all those pains. She just wanted him to leave her daughter alone. She only prays her daughter was safe wherever she had run off to. The prince was bent on hearing Osita speak, but Osita was so stubborn. They kept on flogging him till he passed out. They dragged him into an empty room and locked him up without tending to the open wounds on his back. Meanwhile, Osita's mother was asleep when Osita was taken. She woke up and needed her drugs, but there was no one at home. She struggled and got up. After she took her drugs, she waited for Osita to come back, but he didn't. It was quite strange because Osita never stayed out for so many hours without checking up on her. Night was falling already and Osita wasn't back yet. Osita's mother started having the feelings that all was not well with her son. She couldn't explain it, but tears began to roll down her cheek. Meanwhile, Amaka had refused to eat. She fed herself with her own tears. Her mother had pleaded with her to eat something, but she wasn't hungry. The pain from the heartbreak wouldn't let her eat. Although Nkoli had declined the king's reward, but she was sure it wouldn't take time before the king goes after Nkoli with force. She had spent her time grooming and waiting to be the next queen of Amoke. Where was she going to start from to face the villagers who were going to laugh at her? The more she thought about her predicament, the more tears streamed down her cheek. My daughter, wipe away your tears. Nnamdi has touched the tail of a sleeping lion. He will be devoured, the Onowu said to his daughter, and then walked into the house. He started pacing around inside the sitting room, and there was a quick flashback. Many years ago, when King Obilo was alive, he had two sons, Chidi and Nnamdi. Chidi, the first son and the heir to the throne, was so calm and reserved. The Onowu was best friends with Nnamdi, the second son. Nnamdi told him one day that he aspired to be the king of Amoke someday. He had told Nnamdi that it was not going to be possible because he was the second son, but Nnamdi really wanted to be the king by all means. One day, Nnamdi told him that he had thought of a way to kill his elder brother, but he would be needing his help. He accepted on the condition that when he becomes the king, he will make him the Onowu. Then when they give birth, their children will get married and continue the friendship and ruling the kingdom of Amoke. When the agreement was made, Nnamdi went hunting with his elder brother Chidi and him the Onowu. He had gone far into the bush when Nnamdi pounced on his brother with a big stick. When he killed his brother, he made claws mark on his brother and himself. He claimed they were attacked by a beast. King Obilo was shattered and broken, hearing the death of his first son. He fell sick. The king was very sick for a very long time, and Nnamdi was running out of patience. He went ahead and killed his father in his sleep. After a few days, he was crowned the king of Amoke Kingdom, and he was made the Onowu, the youngest Onowu ever in the office. The Onowu thought to himself, Nnamdi think I have no evidence. Oh, I am a very wise man. The Onowu said, smiling to himself. Then he frowned. Meanwhile, Nkoli kept running with tears rolling down her cheek. She ran through the bush path, panting as she kept running. She was getting tired of running, but she knew she couldn't stop. As she ran, her thoughts weren't at a place. It went from thinking about her father, who was in the hospital, to Osita, who the palace guards were beating up before she ran off. Then she thought about her best friend Amaka. The thought of Amaka sent tears rapidly down her cheek. She couldn't imagine a bit what her friend was actually going through. The worst part of it all, it was because of her, and she couldn't do anything about it. Nkoli got tired of running. She was sobbing and walking along the lonely path. She saw a big tree and went towards it. She sat down beside the tree. As she leaned on the tree with her thoughts filled, the tears streamed down her cheek on its own. All hail the Queen of Amoke. Long live the King of Amoke and the Queen of Amoke. Long live the Queen of Amoke. A group of villagers chanted continuously in the village square. Nkoli saw her friend Amaka, but Amaka wasn't the one on the throne. She was actually the one sitting on the throne and looking at Amaka. No, 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 no. It can't be. It should be Amaka. I can't take what is hers. Give Amaka the crown. I can't hurt my friend. I can't. I can't. Nkoli kept shouting, but the villagers continued chanting. Someone tapped Nkoli from behind in her despair. She turned but couldn't see the person. The one who tapped her before continued tapping her. Then she woke up. It was all a dream. When Nkoli opened her eyes, she saw a young man standing in front of her. He must have been the one tapping her inside her dream. She stood up immediately in fear and began to beg him, please, please don't hurt me, please, don't harm me. Nkoli pleaded, looking at the machete the young man was holding, with tears streaming down her cheek. I'm not here to harm you. I wondered what a young girl like you is doing, sitting here all alone. I heard you shouting from up the palm tree. I thought you were in distress, and I came to help you immediately. The young man with the cutlass said. Nkoli was still scared of the cutlass the young man was holding. She was also scared about her dream. Hurting her best friend wasn't her plan, and the more she ran, the more it comes after her. She had turned down the king's reward and couldn't explain why she dreamt of being the crowned queen of Amoke Kingdom. My name is Mbakwe, and I am from the neighboring village. Who are you? And why are you here all alone? Mbakwe asked. Back at the Onowu's house, he stood up and began to pace around inside his sitting room. I will have to be wise. I will go to the palace and demand reasons why Nnamdi did what he did. If he doesn't revoke his decision in the next 30 minutes, then he will hear from me. The Onowu said to himself. He wore his owago and went to the palace with his walking stick. When he got there, the prince was seated with the king. The prince looked furious about something, but that was not why the Onowu had come. I want to see you privately, Nnamdi, the Onowu said to the king in the presence of Prince Ikenna. How dare you? How dare you call the king by his name? Prince Ikenna roared and started walking close to Onowu. The king waved his hands, asking Prince Ikenna to leave them both alone. The prince was still furious. He looked at the king and then left. "What do you think you are doing?" the Onowu asked the king. "My son's happiness comes first. He doesn't love your daughter. He loves the medium who dances well. So I can't force him to marry your daughter," the king said. "Oh, so my daughter's happiness is not important. You use your trick to push my daughter out from being the next queen of this kingdom. That wasn't our agreement. Or have you forgotten? Have you forgotten so soon?" The Onowu asked furiously. "I don't know who you think you are to walk into my palace and vomit rubbish. Don't let me ask the guards to throw you out. Leave here now before I strip you of your title as the Onowu," the king threatened. "Nnamdi, Nnamdi, you have started a fire. You have started a fire that is going to consume you. No one plays a fast one on me and goes free. If you must know, Chidi is still alive. Yes, he still lives," the Onowu said to the shock of the king. Then he walked away. "Onowu! Onowu!" the king called out, but the Onowu didn't answer. He walked out in a quick step. The king was uncomfortable. He couldn't understand what the Onowu meant by Chidi is still alive. He made sure Chidi was buried. Chidi had no child before death. What the Onowu said remained a mystery. The king got lost in his oceans of thoughts. Meanwhile, Osita sat inside the empty room where he was kept. He wondered what his offense was. Ever since he started growing up, he has been suffering all his life. Anytime something good comes his way, it disappears. So many times he sold his palm wine to wealthy men who came visiting. Many of them promised him that they would come again, but they didn't. A long time ago, when his wine tasted so good, he was happy he was going to make lots of sales, but it turned sour within a few minutes. Now, the last sweet wine which he was on his way to sell off in the market was spilled by his old friend Obinna. Obinna has given him his card to reach out to him, but he had no phone. At his age, things were just going against him. He has been unhappy all his life till that very day he had met Nkoli, who swept him off his feet. Now, he's inside the palace suffering because of the same Nkoli who brought so much sweetness into his life. Why am I so cursed? Why is my life this way? Why is this bad luck following me around? Was I born to suffer? Osita asked himself in pain. Just then, he remembered his sick mother who was at home all alone. She was going to be worried sick. He never stayed out long without going back to see her and knowing how she was doing. The next morning, Obinna began driving around looking for Osita's house. It's been so long since he came back to the village, and he couldn't actually remember the way to Osita's house. He came down from his car and began to ask questions about where Osita lived. He was given the direction to where Osita, the village palm wine tapper, stayed with his sick mother. When Obinna got there, he saw that the house was in a very bad shape than he had known it years ago. He parked his car outside and walked into the little compound. It seemed as if no one was at home. The door to the hut was open, and Obinna tried looking in to see if anyone was in. "Hello, is anyone home?" Obinna called out as he looked into the hut. His eyes opened in shock when he saw a woman lying on the ground inside the hut looking lifeless. Meanwhile, that very day Onowu got home from the palace. He was very angry. He asked his wife where Amaka was. She told him that she had fallen asleep after refusing to eat anything else except her tears. He went into his room and sat down. There was a quick flashback. On this certain day, Ibe, the Onowu, had gone to see his friend Nnamdi. He was waiting outside for his friend when he saw Chidi sneaking out of the palace maid's room. He pretended he didn't see him. After speaking with his friend Nnamdi, He left. He then began to notice the way Chidi acted around a particular maid. He got suspicious because he had seen him sneaking out of the palace maid's room. Ibe was not a talkative, so he kept the secret to himself till the day Nnamdi brought about the plan to kill his elder brother Chidi. After Chidi was killed as planned, Ibe frequently visited the palace more often than usual. That was when he saw Oluchi, one of the palace maids, for meeting. Oluchi didn't know someone saw her. She knew she was pregnant and she was very scared. Ibe knew immediately that Oluchi was carrying the child of Chidi. He made up his mind that he was going to tell Nnamdi about it, so they could eliminate any future threats. But on a second thought, Ibe thought it was right to keep the information from Nnamdi. He was going to make use of it just in case Nnamdi decided to go contrary to their agreements. Ibe went to where the maid was. He asked to speak with her privately, which she agreed to. "You are pregnant, right? And I know the child belongs to Chidi," Ibe said to Oluchi, who got so scared. She was literally shivering. "Oluchi, you have to leave this palace. Quit your job as a maid and leave the palace. If not, you will be disgraced for getting pregnant inside the palace. The king will have your head if you tell him that his son is responsible for what is growing inside of you," Ibe said to Oluchi. But I have nowhere to go. My parents are dead and no one will take care of me. Who will I say is the father of my child?" Oluchi asked with tears already streaming down her cheek. "You asked a very crucial question. Now here is an answer. You know Mbe, the palace guard, has had his eyes on you for a very long time. Get him to sleep with you, then tell him he's responsible for the pregnancy. At least you will have someone to take care of you and your unborn child. Your unborn child won't be a bastard," Ibe suggested. Oluchi knew she was out of choice, so she agreed to do exactly what Ibe had told her, for the fear of her life and her unborn child. After a few months, Oluchi gave birth to a baby boy. That particular day, it rained in the kingdom, even though it was during the dry season. Ibe knew one day that the little boy was going to find his way to the palace, so he decided to take measures to prevent such in the future. He went to see a powerful native doctor and asked him to cover Osita's destiny. He asked the native doctor to make Oluchi forget about the palace and make Osita's life unbearable. Mbe, the palace guard, died 2 years after Osita was born. The Onowu regained his consciousness when his wife came to serve him food. Meanwhile, back at the palace, "Father, what did that man say to you that made you look so worried?" Prince Ikenna asked, walking in on his father, who looked devastated and left in shock. "Father, talk to me. What is the matter?" Prince Ikenna asked again, after getting no response from him. "Leave my presence this minute," the king said to the prince in a raged tone. Prince Ikenna was surprised at the way his father spoke to him. He knew all was not well, but for the moment he had to leave. He walked out of his father's presence. "It is all his fault. It is all his fault. I should have continued with the agreement. Why did I deviate? What does Ibe mean by Chidi lives? Is it possible that Chidi had a child? But how? And where? Is Ibe trying to make me remember the past? Or he's playing tricks on me? No. I know my friend. He's not the type that jokes around. He's a very wise man. Think I have just one option. Yes, I have one last option. Yes, since the deed has been done and I have pronounced Nkoli the next queen of Amoke, I think I have to finish him off before he brings problems to me. I can't go begging him. No, I can't. I'm the king and I get whatever I want. Ibe must die. Yes, Ibe must be killed. Anyone that gets on my way will meet their end. Oh yes, he's not the first and definitely not going to be the last," the king said, wearing a frown. That same night, King Nnamdi sent two of his most trusted guards to go kidnap Ibe from his house. He instructed them to wear a mask so they won't be detected. He gave one of them a gun so they could be successful in the mission. When the guards left for the mission the king had sent them, the king was restless and couldn't sleep. He was waiting for his guards to come back successful. Meanwhile, back at Osita's house, the woman on the floor was Oluchi, Osita's mother. Obinna quickly carried her up. He checked her heartbeats and she was still alive, but her temperature was high. Obinna carried her out of the hut and got into his car. He quickly rushed her to the hospital. He wondered where Osita had gone to and left his mother all alone at home. He waited back for Oluchi to get better so he could know what he should do next or what was going on with her. The next day, Prince Ikenna came out in the morning feeling so angry. He couldn't sleep all night. He wondered why a common palm wine tapper in the village will cause him so much trouble. Maybe killing him is going to make Nkoli come running back to me. When she hears the news of his death, Prince Ikenna said to himself. He called a palace guard and asked that Osita be brought outside. After a few minutes, Prince Ikenna came out and saw Osita was outside already. He was made to sit down on the floor with his hands tied to his back like a thief. Where is Nkoli? Where is my wife? Where is my bride-to-be? Prince Ikenna asked Osita. You don't impose yourself on someone who doesn't love you. Nkoli loves me and me alone. She's never running into your arms and you won't see her ever. Osita said, laughing at the prince who got more angered. Get me the cane and the bucket of salt, the prince said in anger. Osita got scared. His countenance changed. In few seconds, the bucket of salt and a big cane was handed to Prince Ikenna. Now, let's see who rescues you. Let me see who will stop you from suffering to death. Let me see how she won't run back here after your death and into my arms. Prince Ikenna said and laughed evilly. He dipped the cane into the salt, raised it up and landed it with full force on Osita's back. The first stroke opened Osita's fresh wound, causing so much pain. Then Osita fell to the floor. Take him to the village square. We have to deal with him publicly, so no one will ever go against the king, Prince Ikenna said to his guards, who lifted Osita and began dragging him to the village square. The prince followed them with some guards, who escorted him too. When they got to the village square, he ordered Osita to be tied to a tree. Those who saw Osita being tied to a tree began to gather, while others created awareness. Before a few minutes, the village square was filled up. Everyone listen. This young man kidnapped the queen-to-be and has refused to say anything about her whereabouts. I have brought him here to ask him for the last time before taking his head off his neck, Prince Ikenna said to the shock of the whole villagers. He walked closer to Osita and whispered into his ear, "This is your last chance." Then he moved back. Where is the queen-to-be? Where is Nkoli? Prince Ikenna asked Osita loudly in front of the whole villagers. Osita was bleeding from his lips and body due to the torture he had gone through in the palace. You will never find her. She can never be yours, Osita said in pain. Take his head off his shoulders, the prince ordered in a raged tone. The palace guard, who was ready to discharge his duties, raised the machete high up. No! 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 Nkoli shouted, running out of the crowd. But before she could get there, the deed has been done and Osita dropped down dead. Nkoli fell on the ground beside Osita, wailing and crying her eyes out. Then someone kept stabbing her and calling her name. She woke up and it was all a dream. She was shouting and Mbakwe came to wake her up. Osita is in danger. I need to go back. I need to go back to Amoke Kingdom, Nkoli said to Mbakwe, trying to stand up. Back then, when Mbakwe introduced himself to Nkoli, Nkoli was happy that she was in a safe hands. Osita had actually asked her to run to the neighboring village and ask for Mbakwe the palm wine tapper. He told her she would be safe with him. Mbakwe happens to be Osita's best friend from the neighboring village. They had encountered on top of the palm wine tree and they became friends. They only saw each other in the bush and drink their palm wine together. Osita had already told Mbakwe so much about Nkoli. Wait too. You said Osita, my friend, asked you to come meet me here so you would be safe. Do you think he will be happy if he sees you in Amoke Kingdom? I know the gods are with my friend and nothing will happen to him. Please, you have to stay here with me. Mbakwe pleaded with Nkoli. Nkoli nodded her head and laid down back, but she couldn't sleep. Tears rolled down her cheeks slowly as she thought about what she had just dreamt. Meanwhile, when the king guards came to the Onowu house, both Amaka and her mother had gone to bed and left Onowu, who was seated outside. He couldn't sleep. He had a lot of things running through his mind. He was thinking of a way he could expose the king without being an accomplice when two men walked into his compound with their faces covered. They showed him a gun and asked him to close his mouth and followed them quietly. The Onowu knew it was the king that had sent them. He knew the king would kill any threat to his throne, but he never realized he was going to act so fast. He followed the unknown men slowly through the narrowed road they took. Onowu tried to play smart. He pushed one of the men with the gun and then ran off. The two men ran after him immediately. The Onowu hid inside one of the dwarf bushes and the two men couldn't find him. When the Onowu noticed they were gone, he came out of the bush. The two men heard the noise he made and ran after him. This time, they were already out of patience and pulled the trigger. The bullets landed at the back of Ibe's skull and he dropped down dead. The guards fled the scene immediately so they wouldn't be caught. They didn't return to the palace that night to avoid any trace to the king. The next morning, they came to the palace and told the king about how Onowu tried to escape and they were left with no choice than to end his life. The king was so happy about the success of the mission. No more obstacles on his path as usual. He began to praise himself in happiness. Then the happiness ceased when he remembered what the Onowu said. The statement, Chidi still lives, was still a mystery to the king. One of the elders ran into the palace and broke the news to the king that Onowu was dead. They said they found his corpse along the bush path. The king acted so surprised and shocked. The news of the Onowu's death circulated in and out of the kingdom of Amoke. Within a few minutes, the news got to Nkoli, where she was in Mbakwe's house. Then, the thought of her best friend came to her mind. She wondered what Amaka must be going through. Nkoli couldn't help it, but tears streamed down her cheek. When Mbakwe left the house, Nkoli sneaked out and left back to Amoke Kingdom. She needed to console her best friend for her loss. She couldn't let her suffer all alone. When she got to Amoke Kingdom, she went directly to Amaka's house. Amaka was in tears, so was her mother, who was wailing. Nkoli ran into the compound and embraced Amaka, but Amaka turned her back on her. Amaka's mother stood up and asked Nkoli to leave her house. She told her that she was the cause of her predicament. Nkoli ran out of the house in tears. She wanted to go back home, but her mother would take her to the palace. She decided to go see Osita's mother. She was sleeping the last time she was there before Osita was taken. When she got there, the door was opened and no one was at home. Nkoli wiped her tears and began looking for Osita's mother at the back of the house. Obinna walked into the compound. He introduced himself to Nkoli and told her he was the one that had taken Osita's mother to the hospital. He told her that the hospital couldn't dictate what was wrong with her. He had come to see if Osita had returned home. Nkoli told Obinna that Osita was taken to the palace. Meanwhile, at the palace. My prince, Nkoli, your wife-to-be, is back in Amoke Kingdom. She was last seen at late Onowu's house. One of the guards said to Prince Ikenna, who was still having pleasure torturing Osita, despite the news of the Onowu's death circulating around the kingdom. Osita was heartbroken when he heard that Nkoli was back in the kingdom of Amoke. Drag him to the village square. We will use him as lesson to anyone who wants to go against the throne's order. It is time to remove his head from his neck, the prince said out loud to his guards. Osita was being dragged by the palace guards as blood kept dripping down from his lips. His head was swollen and his lips was broken. He was barely without clothes except his trousers, which hung a bit loose on his waist. The wounds on his back wouldn't let a soft-minded person eat properly. Blood accompanied with water dripped down from Osita's back. Those who saw Osita being dragged like a thief by the palace guards were shocked. Despite the fact that Osita was swimming in abject poverty, he was still so kind-hearted. He gave out even the little he had freely. He had never been seen fighting or even quarreling. The villagers believed Osita couldn't even kill an ant. They were marveled at the treatment he got from the palace guards. Some ran off to go tell others what was going on, while others followed the palace guards and the prince, who were marching to the village square. The news got to Obinna and Nkoli, who were there in front of Osita's house, thinking of what next they were going to do. They ran towards the village square immediately. Tie him to that tree over there, the prince ordered the guards as soon as they arrived the village square. The guards dragged Osita and tied him on the tree. Osita yelled in excruciating pain, but they paid no attention to him. When they were done tying Osita to the tree, Osita crunched his teeth, trying to hold the whole pain in. This man here is a traitor to this kingdom. He went against the palace orders by kidnapping the queen-to-be. He has refused to say anything or tell us her whereabouts. I have brought him here in front of you all to ask him for the last time where he kept Nkoli, my wife-to-be. The prince spoke out loud. The whole village went quiet. Some wanted to protest for Osita, but the fear of being involved and the punishment that follows kept them mute. Everyone kept quiet, waiting to hear what Osita had to say. Where is Nkoli? Where is the queen-to-be? Prince Ikenna asked out loud. Osita was mute for a while. He tried to say something, but his mouth was so heavy and his lips were bleeding. Osita! Osita! A voice called from the crowd. Osita lifted his face and it was Nkoli. She passed through the crowd and went where Osita was tied on the tree. She tried to hug him and Osita yelled out in pain. No! No, no, no! Why are you here? What are you doing here? Osita asked, surprised to see Nkoli. Nkoli was dragged from Osita. She tried to struggle, but the guards dragged her out, with tears streaming down her cheek. You see? The gods are wise. They brought the queen back into my arms. You tried to take her away from the rightful place, but the gods thought otherwise. Prince Ikenna said, looking so happy. Just then, the king walked into the village square with few elders. They have come to witness the execution of Osita. With your permission, my king, can we proceed with the punishments for going against the throne orders? Prince Ikenna asked, bowing down a little. The king nodded his head slowly. This should serve as a lesson to any one of you who want to go against the decree of the king. Prince Ikenna said. Then he raised his hand and brought it down, signifying the guards could go ahead and behead Osita. No, 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 no. This can't happen. No, it can't. Nkoli shouted, hoping it wasn't her dream that was coming to pass. She tried breaking free from the grip of the guards holding her, but it was looking impossible as they held her tight. Nkoli cried bitterly, watching as the palace guards walked up to where Osita was with a sharp cutlass. Please, please don't do this, a voice said and came out from the crowd. it was Obinna. Don't end the life of this young man. His mother is in the hospital suffering. She is so sick on the verge of death. No doctor could explain what is happening to her. Imagine if she hears the death of her only child. She will be shocked to death. Please don't let that woman die. Nurses told me she was calling the name of her son. I came looking for him, only to find him here. Please, please, give him another punishment. Obinna pleaded. Mama is dying. Gods of our land, why am I so cursed? Why? What did I do to deserve this? I never saw the father who brought me into this world. I have been suffering, and it looked like no one will ever come to my rescue. But please for my sake, don't allow anything to happen to that woman who gave birth to me. Please let my blood be the healing to her. Please answer me. Please answer me. Just for the last time. Please. Osita pleaded and started crying like a child. The whole village was calm and watched Osita in tears. All through the time, Prince Ikenna tortured him a lot. Not even a single tear rolled down his cheek. But hearing about his mother's condition cut him deeply, and he couldn't hold back the tears, which poured down. I'm ready. I'm ready. Come and kill me. Osita said and closed his eyes. He lifted up his neck and his tears kept rolling down freely. Nkoli wailed and cried, asking for a divine intervention. Some villagers couldn't hold back their tears either, as they watched Osita in pity. Immediately, something strange happened. Machete the palace guard was holding left his hand and hung freely on the air. Then it pointed at a direction and caught fire. The whole village watched in amazement. Some wiped their eyes to know if they were really seeing a machete hanging on the air and burning. I will confess. Please, I will confess. An old man walked out of the crowd, pleading for forgiveness. He began to apologize. I was paid to cover his destiny and make him suffer. The owner who paid me, yes, the owner who paid me to make him and his mother suffer. I collected so much money because he's the son of the late Prince Chidi, the old man said, begging the machete for forgiveness. The whole villagers were stunned by what they heard. That was when the king realized that Osita was Chidi's son. Chidi! The king shouted out loud, and the burning machetes faced the king. No! I can't say it. I can't say I killed my brother and my father. I can't say it, the king said, shaking his head. The machete went high up and landed on the king's chest. Prince Ikenna couldn't understand what was going on. The palace guards let go of Nkoli and she ran towards Osita. Osita smiled at her, then fainted in her arms. Obinna quickly rushed Osita to the hospital. Prince Ikenna, hearing what his father had done, immediately ran back to the palace. He packed his things and left the village immediately. On his way driving out of the village, he saw the machete that had stabbed his father burning in front of him. He lost control of the wheels and he had an accident. He was rushed to a hospital. The next day, Amaka came to the hospital where Osita was. She had come to apologize to Nkoli for turning her back on her. Nkoli didn't wait for Amaka to apologize. She hugged her and apologized too. The two friends were so happy they didn't let anything break their bond. Amaka! Someone called from behind. Amaka turned. It was her childhood lover, who she turned down his love just because she was betrothed to the prince. Obinna, Amaka called, and Obinna opened his arms for her to run into. There was a reunion of the abandoned love after 10 years. Osita and Nkoli looked at the two, smiling at each other. 2 weeks later, Osita was better, so was his mother. He took over the palace. His life changed change and poverty left him. Prince Ikenna lost one of his legs to the accident and he left for the States. A month later, the village was calm and waiting for the new king. Osita was crowned the king, then Nkoli the queen after their marriage. Amaka was so happy for her friend. Even though she didn't become the queen of Amoke, she got married to the man who loved her so much. Mrs. Ndechi was happy her daughter was now the queen of Amoke. She apologized to Osita for everything she had said to him. Osita forgave his mother-in-law and her husband's hospital bills were paid. Later that night, on the bedside inside the palace, Osita and Nkoli were seen together. My heart beats. Who would have thought destiny had a strong grip on us? A day I can never forget could be traced to the day I met you swinging your hips with so much charisma from the top of the palm tree. Thank the gods I didn't fall from the tree. Osita said and smiled. I will cherish you forever, my love from the palm tree. Osita said again to Nkoli, who was blushing and covered her face with her palm. The moral lesson of this story is simple and straightforward. Destiny can be delayed, but can never be denied. Whatever you sow, you shall reap. Be careful of what you do to people. The world is spiritual. Thank you so much for watching this story up until now. I would love to know your thoughts about this story in the comment section. Do you think everyone got a fair judgment in this story? Share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this story, please like this story and do not forget to share this story to your family and loved ones. See you in our next exciting epic story. Till next time, bye.